Any questions about the content on this one before we start? Yeah.
If I asked you, it would seem like I was admitting to something. So
Wow. Whoa. Accusing me. Maybe this is a confession. Okay. All right. Let's get into it so we don't waste all this good material. Finish eating. And we're back with Truth Unrestricted, the podcast that is definitely not just recording this on the same day as the last episode previously heard in this podcast. Definitely not.
same day, same hour,
Trust me.
same minute.
I promise. Okay.
This is why having a audio only podcast is good. We don't have to run and change outfits or anything.
It wouldn't matter. I wear the same thing every day. Black t-shirt again. Really? Hear it from the wife all the time. Really? Black t-shirt and jeans again. Wow. Never would have guessed.
Isn't that what guy on American Idol, Simon Cowell? Isn't that what he always wore?
Are
Maybe it
you
was a white
accusing me of
t-shirt.
copying Simon Cowell? Is that what you're doing?
It sounds to me like
I've
you're
chosen
confessing.
the Simon Cowell aesthetic. Okay. Well, that's okay. I'll call this the Simon Cowell aesthetic. That's fine. I don't think Simon Cowell and I would get along having lunch together, but that's fine. Maybe I could confine the conversation to what to wear.
Yeah.
So we're here today with David Bloomberg. The topic today is going to be how every accusation becomes a confession. So this is the thing that people talk about, that every accusation is a confession.
I'm
One
glad
could
you're
go
finally
down the
admitting
rabbit
that.
hole. Is the accusation that every accusation is confession a confession? I don't know how deep we want to go on that.
It
Is it really
probably
turtles
is.
all the way down?
In some ways it is. I think I know we'll get into this more. I think it is somewhat human nature. I just think that some people are more susceptible to it than others. There,
Well, yeah.
I just gave you the conclusion as the intro. It's like the
Yeah,
abstract.
that's fine. That's fine. We're time is a flat circle, and we're in a infinity loop here. No problem. The end is the beginning, and the beginning is the end. Black is white, white is black, and you got to be careful when you're at the zebra crossing.
So you're wearing a white t-shirt then.
Yes, definitely wearing a white t-shirt. So, as we said, it's often been said that every accusation is a confession. I don't know if every accusation is a confession, but it is something that definitely happens.
Mm-hmm.
And this becomes sort of a thought terminating cliche in some cases, that you just kind of dismiss what someone says by saying this. But I think it's worth going over how this occurs, because how it occurs tells us something about when people are doing this, and how to determine one from the other, and when an accusation is real and when an accusation is just a confession.
Well, yeah, and that's what I
Yeah.
want to jump in and say. We the phrase "every accusation is a confession." I don't think it's ever literally meant every accusation. Like
Right.
when the prosecutor says this man committed murder, I don't think the prosecutor is saying I committed murder. Uh,
Yes. But in
I
the minds of
but
conspiracists, it definitely
right,
is, right? Yeah.
right. But I do think that it applies to certain very specific Trump people who,
It's possible that every accusation from Tucker Carlson is a confession.
right, and other Trump people who may come up in Trump conversation here. Uh,
I feel a subliminal vibe coming from you today, David. Wow, that's
uh, also I think we can people of a certain type. Uh, I think that quite frankly, and people may call this out as being biased. I think we see it a lot more in Republicans, especially MAGA Republicans.
okay.
We're certainly seeing it in Elon Musk. We're seeing, we see it a lot more in the people who get self-righteous
Yeah. One moment.
than we do in the people who I don't know, don't get self-righteous as much, the so it's not necessarily just Republicans, but the people who like are out there being righteous about other things, like, oh, we have to
Righteously
go over.
indignant and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those, the the homosexuals are taking over the country, and
Mm.
they're the ones we
It
have to watch
seems
out for.
like
And
you're
and and
yeah,
those are the
it seems like you're very very thinking about this a lot. I don't why would that be? Why are you thinking that homosexual thoughts are dangerous in some way? Are you experiencing a lot of these?
right. Those are the
Yeah.
people that get caught having rendezvous
Mm.
in airport bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, when we say every accusation, we don't literally mean every. We mean every
Yeah.
from a certain group of people.
It is a sort of an exaggeration, and I did say at the very first episode of
Right.
this podcast that I would try to avoid exaggeration. So,
And you've done
okay.
it a million times.
Oh, David, you had to do that to me. Really? Now I got to call you out on doing it a million times. You know how long it would take me to do it a million times, David? Okay. Well, I'm hoping I received this book for Christmas, David. So
Doppelganger,
people,
doppelganger, 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 doppelganger,
it's really just
doppelganger, doppelganger. I'm
doppelganger,
helping. I'm
but
helping
the
the people who can't
right.
see, since we're an audio podcast.
Yes, this book was is called Doppelganger: A Trip into the Mirror World. It's by Naomi Klein. I got it for Christmas. I hoped to get it for Christmas last year, but I did not, and I finally got it this year because I stubbornly refused to update my Christmas wish list, and finally got what I want. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm hoping that some aspects of this appear in that book about the mirror world because that would be really something. I'm hoping there's all kinds of other goodies. I know that there is because I've heard excerpts from the book, and I've heard everyone universally praising this book, and I hope to get into it very soon.
I haven't
But
praised this book, so therefore you haven't heard it universally. I've never heard of this book till now, as far as I know.
so if you read it, do you think you wouldn't praise it? Is that what you're
I don't
saying?
know. I don't know what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Universally praised by people who read it, perhaps. But thank you for keeping me in line, annoyingly. Okay, so let's get into the thought process of what a person might be thinking when this is occurring. So, when a person works to deceive, the first thing they become very aware of is other people's efforts to also deceive them. It's inevitable. It brings a self-consciousness to what you're doing, and that self-consciousness leads to thoughts of first, can people detect my deception? But also, in what ways are other people maybe deceiving me? And when a person deceives, they want their deception to succeed. They they want also to not be deceived in return because that would work to negate the value of their deception. The if they think they're going to get something from this, then they want to also not have any loss from this, so they want to not be deceived in return. And if especially if they think their deception is particularly clever and useful and gives them an advantage, they're going to become paranoid that the usefulness and advantage of the deception could be used by others to gain their own advantage. So this becomes particularly likely among people who see the world as a landscape for gaining advantage, where every exchange becomes a way to get a leg up, a way to get people's attention, or to work the crowd, to uh, um, gain more money, for example. So we'll stop there and check in with you to see where you are on what I've said so far, David.
Well, I some of what you've said, I think, may be overthinking part of it.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that someone says, "Okay, I'm going to deceive someone, so therefore I need to think about deception in general, and I need to, look into this." I think it's more, as I said earlier, human nature,
Well,
that people assume, they put themselves they they assume that everybody is like them.
Yes.
Many people do, not
Yeah.
everyone. So if I am thinking about deceiving you, then you are probably thinking about deceiving me.
Right.
And if I will do anything to gain power, then I know you will do anything to gain power.
Right. Yeah.
And so the first time I remember encountering this was almost 30 years ago in my work life. And I may have told this story before, but a coworker who, by the way, happened to be a staunch Republican,
Hmm.
take that as you will, uh, suddenly accused me of going to my boss and taking credit for a project we were working on together. And I thought this was very odd since I hadn't done it, other than, of course, reporting progress on the project to my boss, since he was, after all, my boss.
Hmm.
But then I found out that after every time my coworker and I would meet to work on this project, he would immediately go running to my boss to tell him what he'd done or what we'd done and take credit for all the ideas we had come up with.
Hmm.
Because even though my boss was not his boss, we worked together. He was a lawyer. And so the lawyers worked with the technical people, sort of for the technical people. And so he was using this to make himself look better. But this one time, my boss was out when my coworker went scurrying to him. So by pure happenstance, I accidentally talked to my boss first. And I think this was a perfect example of the situation because he literally accused me of doing what he had been doing. And
Hmm.
I never would have known about it if he hadn't accused me of this. But because he did, I started talking to my boss about it. My boss was like, "Oh yeah, he always comes in here and da 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 da." I'm like, "What is going on here?" But he assumed that since he was a lying little sneak, that other people were lying little sneaks too.
Well,
And through the course of working with him, I later found a number of similar things, not of this type, but like where I pointed out, he would write a rule, and I'd be like, the grammar on this rule sucks. It sucks. It needs to be great. No, I already ran that by my boss, and she agreed. Well, I knew his boss. I was friends with his boss,
yeah.
and God, I sound like I'm talking about JFK or something, but uh I was friends with his boss, and I knew that she was a grammar stickler like I was, and I knew there was no way that she had approved this. So that was just flat out lying. There was no accusation there. But this is the type of person I later found him to be. But this particular instance taught me a lot about how people tend to view others as having the same morals and thought processes as they do themselves. So if they're willing to lie to advance, they assume you're willing to lie to advance. And I really do think this comes into play quite a bit in many different situations. I think that, through the years, through the decades that I've discussed politics with different people, argued, debated politics, a lot of people just cannot put themselves into the mindset of the other person. And I never had any formal debate training. I know in formal debate training, they do this. They will randomly assign you a topic and a side, and you may have to debate fervently against your own beliefs. But that's the point of, a debate competition.
Hmm.
And so you have to be able to put yourself into the other side's viewpoint. And I see this a lot with, you know, like anti abortion views. True pro life people, I'm not talking about the politicians, I'm talking about the true pro life people. They cannot understand how pro choice people live with themselves
Hmm.
because they see it as you're murdering a baby.
Yeah.
And so they just cannot put that mindset in. I and many others can see their point of view. I just think it's wrong. I understand why they're saying that. I just don't think their view is supported by evidence. And so I think that a lot of I think that's why you get to a lot of these righteous and self-righteous people. I think that there's, without trying to do some sort of neuroscience experiment here, I think there's a lot of overlap in the inability to put yourself into someone else's head, and also the assumption that they are exactly like you.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you're right that most people don't think about it the way I explained it. It's because I am engaged in meta thinking to a usually a much more thorough degree than most other people. Um, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's true. This is really what we're talking about here is sort of the building blocks of projection, right?
Yes.
This idea, this is the most people don't think about all the little moving pieces on the inside of their head and how they fit together the way I'm generally doing it. So they don't think about the fact that they just thought this thing was true and they don't know where that thought came from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if anyone has ever been in a relationship with someone who, um, was irrationally accusing them of cheating on them and maybe got around to thinking that maybe it's because they're the one that's cheating, has kind of seen this. And most of those people who are
Yep.
doing the accusation don't understand why they're so concerned about their partner cheating. They don't understand it's because they just got away with it essentially, and they see how easy it is to get away with, and they feel that because they got away with it, the other person could be doing it too, and they'd never know. And also they probably feel guilty about it, and they feel that the measure of their guilt is related to how badly they should feel if the other person were cheating. And yeah, I mean, all of those factor into this situation, this accusation being a confession scenario.
Yeah, that
um
was an example that I had, in my notes as well, was something,
yeah.
that, a cheating husband assumes hhis wife is cheating on him.
Uh, uh,
And,
Not every time, but
right.
this happened.
Many
This is a
times.
thing that regularly occurs. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They do the accusing when they're the ones, I think that it extends to, people who, uh, take bribes. Well, everybody's doing it, and there's
Yeah.
there's a little bit of difference there. I mean, that's more of the kind of, I'm on a level, I'm making it a level playing field. Everybody in this
Well,
position takes a bribe. So
cycling
therefore,
is exactly working like that now, right?
right.
Where
Oh, it has
everyone
been. I
is
mean,
everyone is
yeah,
cheating because that's the only way to stay competitive because the cheating is so rampant
right.
that yeah.
Yeah. And that was, I was thinking about cheating on exams, but that's an even better example is, yeah, the cycling world.
Yeah.
I mean, Lance Armstrong for all those years, and,
Well, we use him
um,
as an example, but in fact, there is so much rampant cheating across the board
mhm.
that you can't even be in the competitive field unless you're also cheating because the methods for cheating give such a strong advantage and they're so difficult to detect. And instead of getting a clean sport, you just get the people who are able to better get away with cheating,
Right.
uh, which is it's really how cycling works, right? Um, but yeah, you get this elevated uh, competitive level, and in some ways, I think there's some political circles that work that way too, with dishonesty, with cheating of people and of each other. In order to get to that space at all, you have to have gotten your hands dirty doing something. And this is one reason why a lot of our politicians are not great people. At the end of the day, they're not.
Well, I agree. And I think
Yeah.
there has to be something. One thing I've realized as I've gotten older is, there are senators, presidents, other politicians who are 20 or more years older than I am.
Hmm.
And while some of them are still in politics for what I think are decent reasons, I think Biden is a decent man who was in it for the right reasons. Do I think he never ever got his hands dirty? Probably not. But probably I used a double negative there. Probably at some point something had to happen. But there are some who are in it for the right reasons, and there are some you just look at and say, why are you still doing this? Why are you putting yourself through this?
Why is
You
Mitch
know,
McConnell involved
right,
in politics and why hasn't he retired?
right. And that's, I say that as someone who retired the
Yeah.
minute that I could.
Yeah.
Like, like I retired as soon as I could. Earlier in my career, I had ideas of moving up the ladder and becoming, as high up as I could go. And yeah, I was promoted to multiple management spots. It was probably, when I retired, was probably as high as I could reasonably go because the person ahead of me was not leaving. She could have retired, but she's the type of person who her job was her life.
Mm.
I, I firmly expect she will never retire. I have told people this. I think she will die in that position. Maybe she'll surprise me, but I learned over the years that it's not worth it. Live your life,
Yeah.
you know? And so I don't understand what is the draw of this power. You know, why? What? I mean, I understand for Trump. He wanted to avoid jail. And I also think, he probably has
He
a few
enjoys the
psychiatric
power and the
issues.
attention and yeah.
Right. And, and the same is true about, some of these billionaires. Like, when is enough money enough money? Why do you have to keep fighting for tax cuts? Really? Is that extra few million or even few hundred million going to help you that much? No, there's something embedded in their psyches at that point. And that's not directly what we're talking about, but I think it is linked because I think that, again, all of these types of people, if you are the type of person who thinks that power is everything, then you are going to assume the same is true about other people you deal with.
Yeah.
And we've seen this. I mean, Trump is a full on master. The phrase, we probably wouldn't even be talking about this phrase if it weren't for Trump. Let's be honest. Because with
Maybe.
him,
Well, I mean, Elon Musk has become the thing that they
right,
claim George Soros was.
right. Yes,
Literally
that is
become
true.
it.
Yes. Everything except being Jewish. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's just, he supports Nazis instead. So,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
kind of like equal and opposite.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess.
and so, I mean, Trump just literally within the past couple days, as we're recording this, so it'll be, a week or two in the past by the time this goes out, presumably, but there were two clear instances of accusations being a confession when it came to Trump. So Trump complained on Truth Social about flags being at half mast during his inauguration due to Jimmy Carter's death. And part of his post said, now, I will say, yes, there have been some Democrats who are like giddy about this, like, haha, Trump, is going to have to deal with a half mast when he's being inaugurated. I think that's silly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call it out right now. That is silly
It's
to
petty.
say. Petty.
It's useless.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he then went further than that. Trump did. And he said that Democrats don't love our country. Quote, they only think about themselves. When I
Mm.
read this, my irony meter exploded
Yeah.
because anyone with half a brain cell knows that this is actually a perfect description of Trump himself. He does not love the country. He does not even like the country. Throughout his campaigns, he has talked shit about the country. When, he has just derided this country. And we know he literally only thinks about himself. He does not care about anyone else. No one at all. I think if he, if there was a bus coming at him and his own son or daughter were standing there, he'd jump out of the way rather than push his own son or daughter out of the way.
Mm. Yeah.
And maybe push his own son or daughter in front of him. But I mean, I truly don't think the man has the capability to feel compassion for others. And therefore, no, he truly only thinks about himself. This is something that's been obvious for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then just a day or two later, he again posted to social media to complain about the judge refusing to overturn his fraud conviction and scheduling sentencing before the inauguration. And he said in part, corrupt Democrat judges and prosecutors have gone against a political opponent of a president, me, at levels of injustice never seen before. This is the same guy who, in the days and weeks leading up to this, has publicly said he plans to use the Justice Department to take revenge on his political opponents like Liz Cheney.
And has in the past intimated or accused Democrats of using the Justice Department
Right.
against, yeah, because it's the thing that he is
He
obviously planning to hopefully do for
right.
himself.
And so, I mean, are there are no better examples, I think,
Yeah.
than every accusation is a confession. Then right there. And those are just within the past couple days.
Yeah.
He does this all the time. And he has no hesitation in doing so. People can point it out, he ignores it. And it, you know, and like you said, the same thing is true of Musk. Musk literally told people to F off. And then, like a day or two later, said, I'm changing the algorithm to make it so that, or sorry, first he said, people are not posting enough positive things here. They're posting too much negative. Then he said he's going to change the algorithm to downgrade negative posts
Good.
and upgrade positive ones.
It's about time, Elon. I've been waiting. I've been avoiding negative posts for this whole time. Make that retroactive, actually.
Yeah. And then, like yesterday, as we're recording this, he called someone the R word.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, what happened to your positive thing? Now, I know he will define positive and negative in a different way.
There's an additional piece of the code for the algorithm that makes his account exempt from all the other things. Yeah.
Well, right. And of course, negative will mean anything bad about Trump. And
yeah, how you define negative is also up for grabs. Yeah.
Positive will be anything bad about Democrats, you know.
Yeah.
So but the point is, he, like you said, he's out there also doing this absolutely contradictory stuff and making accusations that are clearly confessions, and none of them care.
Yeah, he would say that the Democrats or some collection of government officials might want to put together a way to decide for the people what is true, and that's bad. But then he's also attempting to decide for people what is true on Twitter and with the algorithms that he's using on Twitter. Yeah, you don't need to go past Musk and Trump to find ample examples of this exact phenomenon.
Yeah, and you don't even need to go past Musk and Trump in the past couple days as we're recording.
Yeah, you don't even have to look much in the past. Yeah.
I mean, and so this is how this, something like this saying becomes so blindingly obvious, because it is, if Trump were to post and accuse someone of shooting someone in Central Park, I would say send the New York police to Central Park, because Trump probably did it.
Well, he should be not crossed off the list of suspects, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that wraps up the topic. Where can people find you, David?
This may be our shortest podcast ever.
Well, it's good. We should have a couple short ones in there somewhere. Work them in.
That's right. Well, people can find me on, find all my accounts and everything on Linktree. And that's at Linktree/David Bloomberg with a dot before the EE in the URL there. More directly, you can find me on Blue Sky as at David Bloomberg, on Threads as at David Bloomberg TV. I still have an account on on Twitter with where I'm at David Bloomberg. But I mean, basically all I'm doing there is pointing out when Trump and Musk do stupid stuff and posting links to my videos because I still have a lot of followers there that I haven't convinced to move over to Blue Sky where everyone should be. If people want to see those videos, they are not at all politics. They are reality TV, and you can go to YouTube, TikTok if it's still around, and Instagram where I'm at David Bloomberg TV.
Great. And if anyone has any questions, comments, complaints, concerns about this podcast, anything you hear here, you can send that email to truthunrestricted@gmail.com. Can be found on Twitter at Spencer G. Watson, on Blue Sky at Spencer Watson. I'm still on Threads. I think it's Spencer Watson 39 there
That sounds right.
because, yeah, there was other people that got there before me.
Yeah, 38 of
Uh,
them apparently.
well, that came from Instagram, right? And I
Oh,
was really late
right.
to Instagram, so that's the
Yes,
problem.
yes.
Yeah.
But
Um,
you mentioned feedback. Just know if anyone sends feedback
hmm.
and they say that we're wrong about something, we are going to presume they're admitting they're wrong about it.
Oh, yeah. Wow. You just really inverted reality on them really quickly there, David.
I'm
Wow.
just
That's,
wrapping up the subject here. Every
yeah.
accusation is a confession.
Yeah. Hey, watch yourselves, everyone. Watch yourselves. Warning from this podcast to you. Okay. With that, I think we'll sign off. So,
All right.
till next time, David.
Till next time.